Fire this useless employee right now. A shrill voice pierced through the elegant lobby of Eternity Manor, the wedding venue I own. The voice belonged to my younger sister, Mandy, and the useless staff she was pointing at with that hateful expression was none other than me. Kelly. Yeah, call the person in charge. Talking to a low-level employee like you is a waste of time. Even my father barked beside her. In their minds, I was nothing more than an ordinary wedding planner working here. They would never imagine that the historic house they were standing in actually belonged to me. The air froze. Other guests turned their suspicious eyes toward us, and even my staff, my subordinates, looked lost, unsure of how to react. Then, from behind me, John, our impeccably dressed general manager, walked forward with calm yet commanding authority. He came to stand respectfully beside me, then politely greeted my dumbstruck sister and father. And in a clear, dignified voice, he said, "You have shown unacceptable disrespect toward our owner." Owner? I could see the color drain from Mandy's face. My father's mouth opened and closed like a stunned fish. Why did it come to pass that I, by my own hand, would turn this family's greatest moment, the crowning event of their lives, into hell after they ruined my beloved daughter's birthday? Let me tell you a story. It all began on that dreadful day. The day when my world with my daughter, Hannah, was still filled with nothing but light and hope. Mom, look! Just 13 more sleeps until my birthday. My soon-to-be 8-year-old daughter pointed at the calendar, her cheeks puffed with pancake as her laughter filled the kitchen. The room itself seemed to glow with her excitement. That's right, sweetheart. Have you decided what you're going to wish for this year? It's a secret. Hannah laughed with carefree joy. This was my whole world. Since losing my beloved husband 5 years ago, protecting and raising her has become the only meaning of my life. Fortunately, my career was thriving. I had purchased Eternity Manor, a struggling wedding venue at the time, and rebuilt it into the embodiment of my ideals. Its reputation spread by word of mouth, and now it's one of the most sought-after venues, booked years in advance. But my family didn't know any of that. As far as they were concerned, my job was simply a wedding planner working at Eternity Manor. A single mother doing her best to make ends meet, that's what they believed. Why did I not tell them the truth? The reason was simple. To avoid their constant pleas for money. I feared that my success would only fuel their jealousy and resentment, twisting our already fragile relationship even further. But that fragile piece would soon shatter, in the cruelest possible way. And then came the long-awaited day of Hannah's birthday. We had rented out a section of Eternity Manor's vast English garden, decorated with pastel balloons and ribbons. The laughter of children echoed through the garden as Hannah's friends gathered to celebrate. Mom, thank you. This is the best birthday ever. Wearing her new dress, she threw her arms around me, her face glowing with pure happiness. Just seeing her like that filled my heart completely. My staff were flawlessly professional, orchestrating the party to perfection. I had given them only one instruction. Today, my daughter is the star. Please give her the best service possible. While the birthday girl was engrossed in a treasure hunt game with her friends, one of the catering staff approached me with a slightly troubled look. I'm so sorry. We're running low on the kids' juice stock. Oh, really? I'll grab some extras from the storage room. I smiled and headed toward the quiet back area, away from the cheerful noise. It only took a few minutes. As I approached the storage door, something caught my eye. Near the edge of the garden, behind a tall hedge, the soil of a large planter was oddly disturbed. And splattered across the dirt was something dark blue and creamy, terribly familiar. No, my heart pounded painfully as I ran toward it. There it was, Hannah's birthday cake, destroyed beyond recognition, our annual Wishing Star Dome cake. Its night sky dome collapsed, the 8 star-shaped cookies crushed to dust. That wasn't all. Beneath the ruined cake, a torn piece of wrapping paper peeked out, one I recognized immediately. It was the memory jar, the birthday present I had prepared. Its contents had been dumped out, and the handwritten notes, memories Hannah and I had written together over the past 8 years, were smeared with cake frosting and mud, reduced to filthy scraps of paper. The blood drained from my face. My mind went completely blank. I could barely stand. What happened? Who could do something so cruel? My legs trembled as I stumbled back toward the party. Hannah mustn't see this. I have to smile. Then I saw her. Mandy, sitting gracefully on the terrace, scrolling through her phone. Beside her sat my parents, the family I had invited out of obligation. And Mandy. The moment I saw that familiar cold smile curl on her lips, I felt the blood in my entire body surge backward. There was no doubt. It was her. I walked straight to their table. "Where is the cake and the present?" My voice came out low and icy. Even I barely recognized it. Mandy glanced up from her phone for only a second and shrugged, clearly annoyed. "How should I know?" "Don't lie to me." "You're being dramatic. Anyway, the staff here are useless. I've been waiting forever for my champagne refill." The instant she said that, I saw it. A tiny glint on the metal clasp of her handbag. Gold foil. From the wishing star dome cake. That was all the proof I needed. I planted both hands on the table and leaned forward. "I'll ask you one more time, Mandy. What did you do with Hannah's cake and her present?" Mandy finally set her phone down and looked up at me with that mocking smirk. Then, in a voice dripping with contempt, she said, "Oh, that? I thought it was trash, so I threw it away." My parents heard every word. However, my father muttered, "You're overreacting over a kid's cake." And my mother, even at this point, defended my sister, saying, "Well, Mandy didn't mean any harm." I stared at them, stunned. "She didn't mean any harm? Are you serious?" My voice shook, with anger, with grief. Hannah's cake was shoved into a filthy planter. The dome was crushed, the star cookies shattered, and underneath it was her memory jar, the present we made together. The notes we wrote over 8 years were soaked in frosting and dirt, destroyed forever. All of that? Our memories were in the trash you're all excusing. No one said a word. Mandy looked away. My mother lowered her head, and my father just grimaced in irritation. I somehow managed to tell Hannah that her cake and gift would be replaced later, and closed the party with what little composure I had left. "There's really no saving you," I whispered as I stood up. Something inside me snapped. A week passed after that nightmare of a party. There was no contact from my family, not a single word of apology. One night, after tucking Hannah into bed, I sat alone in the living room when my phone rang. The caller ID, Mandy. For a brief moment, I thought maybe, finally, she was calling to apologize. "Hello?" "Hey, Kelly, I need a favor." Her voice was syrupy sweet, not a trace of remorse. "It's about my wedding. I want to upgrade the package to something more luxurious. Oh, and switch the catering to the top-tier French menu. The cost? Of course, you'll cover it for me, right, Kelly?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Mandy, do you even realize what you're saying?" Something in my voice must have chilled her, because she hesitated slightly. "Geez, why are you so mad all of a sudden? Oh, wait, are you stressed from work? Don't worry, you can pay whenever. Anyway, we're family, right? It's only natural for you to help make the most important day of my life perfect." In her mind that day, Hannah's ruined birthday, the tears, the destroyed memories, never happened. My daughter's tears and the memories of ours that were trampled upon. Before her idea of the perfect wedding, they might as well not have existed. "I'm not helping you." I forced the words out through gritted teeth. "I will not be involved in your wedding. At all. Not in any way." "Are you serious? Why?" "If you can't understand why, then you never will." That was all I said before hanging up. For someone who had spent her entire life avoiding conflict, that was the first act of real defiance I'd ever shown. I thought this would finally bring some quiet. How naive I was. Less than an hour later, someone began pounding on my front door so hard it nearly came off its hinges. On the intercom screen appeared my father's furious face. The moment I opened the door, he shoved past me, storming into the house. "Kelly, Mandy just told me everything. What the hell are you thinking?" "What do you mean, what am I thinking?" "Don't play dumb. Are you trying to ruin your sister's big day? You've always had it easy. Mandy's not like you. She's clumsy, she struggles. It's only fair that the one who's got it easier takes on the tougher role." His twisted logic was so absurd, I let out a hollow laugh. "The tougher role? I think I've played that part plenty already. But tell me, Dad, knowing what Mandy did to Hannah, you can still talk to me like that?" He gave me a weary, exasperated look before spitting out his next words. "Oh, so this is still about that damn cake. If it was ruined by another one, you'd really sabotage Mandy's wedding over something so trivial?" Something so trivial. Those words cut deep. All of Hannah's memories are 8 years of love reduced to a thing, nothing more. This is a battle for the dignity of my daughter. Enough, I murmured. What do you mean enough? He snapped. It's over. All of it. I met his eyes and said clearly, so you're satisfied then? Hurting your sister like this? You're no daughter of mine. With that final outburst, he stormed out, slamming the door behind him. The strength left my body, and I nearly collapsed where I stood. I somehow made my way to Hannah's room. She was sleeping peacefully in her little bed, her face soft and calm. I knelt beside her and gently stroked her hair. To protect this child's smile, her future, her happiness. That had been my only purpose since the day I lost my husband. And yet, what had I really been protecting? By clinging to this rotten family, I had allowed them to hurt her. I'm so sorry, Hannah. Tears rolled down my cheeks, but they weren't tears of despair. They were tears of rage and of resolve burning from deep within me. That night, I didn't sleep a single minute. At dawn, as the sun began to rise, I picked up my phone. There was no time for sentimentality. Mandy's wedding was no longer a family issue. It was now a matter of business, a matter of my company's integrity. Half measures wouldn't work with them anymore. As the owner of Eternity Manor, I would sever these toxic ties through the one thing they could never challenge: formal policy and professional authority. I called John, the general manager. Good morning, John. It's me. I'll be brief. Cancel everything related to my sister, Mandy Gale. Her entire wedding project is to be voided immediately. John didn't sound surprised. On the contrary, his voice carried calm relief. I understand. I've been waiting for this decision. What was done to Miss Hannah is absolutely unforgivable. You have my full loyalty, and that of every staff member here. On behalf of Eternity Manor, we'll handle this matter with complete integrity. His voice was filled with quiet anger and unwavering devotion. The bell of war had been struck. After hanging up, I delegated all on-site authority to him. From that moment, everything proceeded strictly according to company policy. John's response was calm, methodical, and flawless. He first informed the head of the wedding planning department. Effective immediately, Miss Mandy Gale's account will revert to standard rates. Next, he handed the accounting department a memo. If payment is not received by the deadline, issue a formal notice as per contract terms. Every staff member knew exactly what was happening. The incident at Hannah's birthday had angered them too. And sure enough, before long, a shrill, hysterical voice from Mandy came through Eternity Manor's main line. Hey, the planner just told me changing the package will cost an extra $20,000. What is this? Get Kelly on the phone. The planner, who answered, following John's instructions to the letter, responded with perfect scripted professionalism. I'm very sorry, ma'am. Kelly is currently tied up with other events. As for fees, they are as stated in the contract. Contract? We're family. Contracts don't apply. I'm terribly sorry, but regardless of family relationships, our venue is governed by the contract. The contract you signed is the rule. I could hear Mandy go silent on the other end. The call was cut off, and my phone never rang again. But that quiet was only the eerie calm before the next storm. A few days later, in the afternoon, my phone began vibrating like mad in the middle of an important meeting at Eternity Manor, even though it was on silent. A bad feeling crawled up my spine. I stopped the meeting and, with shaking fingers, tapped the call. Kelly, oh my God, it's awful. Your family is at the school. The panic in Hannah's homeroom teacher's voice made my blood run cold. Without asking questions, I jumped in my car and drove to the school. What I saw in the lobby was hell. Mandy stood over Hannah, who had been made to sit on a chair in the lobby, and leaned in toward my little girl and shrieked, Listen, Hannah, because your mother is being selfish, my wedding will be ruined. Do you understand? You're making everyone unhappy. Hannah's face froze with fear. She could only shake her head silently. Tears brimmed in her eyes. What do you think you're doing? The low, crawling sound came from my own mouth. For a split second, all three of their faces looked taken aback when they recognized me. I walked straight to Hannah, swept her into my arms, and glared at the three of them like a demon. Never come near my daughter again. Maybe intimidated by my intensity, they fled the school. That night, Hannah woke screaming from nightmares. The cruelty of invading even her safe place, the school, burned something in me to ash. The next morning, I contacted my legal advisor, Ben, and formally requested the surveillance footage from the school lobby cameras. No more holding back. On the appointed afternoon, I watched from the owner's office window as a familiar car barreled into the parking lot. Out tumbled my furious father, tear-streaked Mandy, and my bewildered mother. So they'd finally come. I rose and called John on the internal line. "John, our guests have arrived. Follow the plan. Treat me as just another staff member. Do not reveal who I am under any circumstances." I understand. By the time I reached the lobby, it had already become a battlefield. Mandy was shouting at the young front desk staff. I said, "Bring me the person in charge." My father bellowed, "Who's the owner here? Your staff clearly aren't trained." Other guests watched with furrowed brows. When I calmly stepped in and asked, "Is there a problem, ma'am?" Mandy's ire snapped straight at me. "Kelly, perfect timing. What is this bill? You can fix this with a word, right? Call whoever you need to. Make this contract all go away." She still genuinely believed I was just an employee who could pull strings for them. Their foolishness had grown so profound that I felt nothing but pity. "I'm sorry, but this is not up to me." I answered mechanically by the manual, and Mandy's hysteria spiked. "Save the excuses. Are you even my sister?" "Business and family are separate. Everything will proceed according to the contract." My cold reply brought my father barging in. "Kelly, enough. You work at this fine venue. Use your influence and get us VIP treatment. That's your job." They treated me as a convenient connection, something to use to get special treatment. The staff watching struggled to hide their smiles. This family simply didn't notice. "Sir, with respect, the owner of this venue believes in treating all guests equally." I said it firmly, and Mandy trembled before finally erupting. "Fine. Talking to this useless staff is pointless. Call your supervisor. If they don't come, I'll tell the owner to fire you." Ah, those were the words I'd been waiting for. Inside, I smiled quietly. Perfect. Now all the players had taken their places. I gave a silent nod and glanced toward John, who had been waiting behind me. He immediately understood everything and stepped forward. The air in the lobby grew taut with tension. Mandy and our parents looked triumphant, thinking that the person in charge had finally appeared. They had no idea that their own words had just pulled the trigger that would ruin their lives. When John moved forward, Mandy and my father assumed he was the one with final authority, the man who would grant all their demands. They puffed up with self-importance and advanced on him. "Finally, someone who actually understands," Mandy shrieked. "If you're the one in charge, then you know what you have to do first." She jabbed her finger sharply in my direction. Then, in a voice that echoed through the entire lobby, she shouted, "Fire this useless employee right now." My father joined in, bellowing, "That's right. We've been asking to speak to your manager for ages. Fire that woman immediately and show us to the VIP room." Every gaze in the lobby turned toward me and John. Other guests, my staff, everyone holding their breath to see what would happen. John stared at the two of them without a flicker of emotion. Then he quietly stepped in front of me, as if to shield me from harm, and he spoke in a calm but steely voice. "I sincerely apologize. You have shown unacceptable disrespect toward our owner." "What?" The sound slipped out of Mandy's mouth, confused and hollow. My father frowned, clearly not understanding. "Owner? What do you mean, the owner?" John slowly straightened, then stepped aside, opening a path for me. Every eye swung back to me again, sharp and unrelenting. I took one measured step forward. Then, facing my stunned sister and parents, who still hadn't grasped what was happening, I spoke quietly, but with unmistakable clarity. "My sincerest apologies. Regarding this matter, the owner of this establishment, will handle it personally." Time stopped. Completely. "The owner?" It was Mandy, her voice barely above a whisper. My parents couldn't even form words. Their mouths hung open as they looked between me and John, disbelief frozen on their faces. All around us, strangers, couples, cafe customers, watched with a mixture of curiosity and contempt, their eyes cutting into my family like knives. "Wait, Kelly's the owner? This has to be some kind of joke." Mandy's trembling voice broke the silence. I didn't react at all. Instead, I turned to John and spoke in an even, professional tone. "John, it seems our guests are quite exhausted. Please escort them to the VIP room and bring them some cold water. Oh, and one more thing." I paused, then swept my gaze slowly across my family's faces. each one pale and shaking, my eyes cold as ice. Inform security as well, just in case these guests decide they don't want to leave. Understood, John replied and gestured toward the hallway. This way, please. But none of them moved. They stood frozen, like statues under a spell. Finally, my father managed to croak out, Kelly, what is this? Please explain. Explain? I tilted my head slightly. Oh, I will, thoroughly, as the owner of this place. Turning on my heel, I led them toward the VIP room. It was the perfect stage, prepared for the final act of a family that had long been playing pretend. When the heavy doors closed behind us, the noise of the outside world vanished completely. Only the four of us remained, me and the three sinners. I sank into the sofa and slid a single document across the table toward them. It was the wedding contract Mandy had signed. My father's face went pale as he leaned forward, stammering, Kelly, please, this has to be some mistake. Mandy is your only sister. Sister. The sister I knew threw away my daughter's treasured keepsake, called it trash, and crushed her heart. The person sitting in front of me now is not my sister. She's a troublesome client who violated the rules of Eternity Manor and owes a significant amount in unpaid fees. With that, I tossed a stack of overdue invoices onto the table. According to the regulations, if payment is not made by the due date, the reservation is automatically canceled. Of course, the deposit is fully forfeited as a cancellation fee. What? My mother screamed. If you do that, what will happen to Mandy's wedding? I wouldn't know. That's your problem, for trying to hold a lavish ceremony far beyond your means. My words made Mandy snap. That's cruel. Are you even human? You're destroying your own sister's happiness for money? Money. I raised an eyebrow. You still think that's why I'm angry? You haven't even apologized for what you did to Hannah. Mandy faltered, her mouth snapping shut. I lit up my phone's screen and placed it on the table. What began to play was that recording, the disgusting footage taken in the school lobby that day. You endangered my daughter's safety and tried to destroy my professional reputation, I said evenly. This isn't a family matter anymore. It's criminal. Obstruction of business and intimidation. Isn't that right, Ben? At my words, Ben, my legal advisor who had been standing quietly in the corner, stepped forward. Yes, the evidence is more than sufficient. We can file a police report immediately, and apply for a restraining order as well. Police? My father and mother's faces turned ashen with despair. Mandy could only tremble. Speechless. What will it be? I asked, looking down at the three sinners, giving them their final choice. Accept the cancellation of the wedding and disappear from our lives forever. Or spend your wedding day at the police station. The word police felt like a final judgment. Mandy, who had screamed so loudly moments ago, fell silent. My father collapsed onto the sofa, completely drained. Only my mother wept, choking on her words. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Kelly. But who her apology was meant for, I no longer cared. Ben handed them a written agreement. They would never again make contact with Kelly or Hannah. The three of them, hands shaking, signed their names. Led by John, they left the VIP room like ghosts, silent and pale. I watched them go, expressionless. As they crossed the lobby, every single staff member turned their back to them and went on with their work. Without a word. It was their unspoken way of showing loyalty. To me and to Hannah. That night, Hannah and I celebrated quietly. From the most popular patisserie in town, I bought a cake even grander than the new Wishing Star Dome cake. And I finally gave her the gift I hadn't been able to that day. Mom, can I open it? Her eyes sparkled as I nodded. Carefully, she unwrapped it. And inside was a beautiful locket pendant. On one side was a photo of me when I was young. On the other, a picture of her late father, smiling gently. Daddy. Tears rolled down Hannah's cheeks. I pulled her into my arms and held her tight. That afternoon, the day the wedding was officially canceled, Mandy called me once. Sobbing uncontrollably, she kept repeating, "Please, help me." I spoke only one sentence. "Until you can truly apologize to my daughter, I never want to hear your voice again." Then I ended the call quietly. That was the last time I ever heard from her. A year has passed since then. I don't know exactly what became of my family. I've only heard that after the wedding was canceled, they were left with enormous penalties, shunned by relatives, and could no longer live their once arrogant lives. Mandy's engagement in the end was called off. Her fiancé reportedly said she had brought shame to the family. I felt nothing but a quiet sense of inevitability, a consequence of our own choices. As for me and Hannah, our lives are peaceful beyond measure. We take weekend trips together, spend weekday nights doing homework side by side. She has healed from that painful day and now smiles brighter than ever. Surrounded by friends, laughing every day at school. As for Eternity Manor, that day's incident made me a legend as the owner who will never yield to injustice, no matter who the client is, and who protects her employees without hesitation. The staff's morale soared, our service quality improved dramatically, and business continues to flourish. Now, no one can threaten the calm life that Hannah and I have built. Because the door that leads back to that cursed past, I've locked it myself with a key that will never be turned again.